Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Tracy from SoCal Moms, and we're here today with Julie Cole of Mabels Labels. Welcome, Julie.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Thanks for joining us. We're obviously a big fan of Mabels and have been using them for a long time. I literally this morning just got out my labels because my son is going to a new camp and they needed like different things. And so I'm like rushing around my house at 7 a.m. like, oh no, what's not labeled? Are we going to get all these things back? So why don't you tell us a little bit, before I keep talking about it, about yourself and how you started Mabel's Labels, and we'll start there.
Sure, for sure. So, like you said, I'm Julie Cole. I'm the co-founder of Mabels Labels. I'm also a parenting blogger and contributor. I do a lot of media and article writing and that sort of stuff. And I'm a mom of 6 kids. So that keeps me pretty hopping, between the business, babies, and blogging and all that jazz. So Mabel's Labels actually started 18 years ago. I actually can't believe how long we've been around. It feels crazy. And we started for 2 reasons. And I would say, because I mean, obviously I get a lot of entrepreneurs who are like, what do I need to do to start my business? And I'm like, know your why. So we had 2 whys. And one was that there was a product missing from the market. We were moms with young kids, and we were using masking tape and permanent marker, and we were losing things. And we all had the same sippy cups and all that jazz. So we thought, well, there must be something out there that's better than this. And there wasn't. So as good entrepreneurial mamas do, we created it. So we did a lot of research. We wanted a really durable product, obviously, because it had to go through the dishwasher or microwave. And we also wanted it to be really cute, right? Like our market was us. We know what we like. So we did a lot of research and testing and launched Mabel's Labels. Now, the second reason Mabel's Labels came about was because at the time, my eldest child, who was 3, just received an autism diagnosis. And he already had 2 younger sisters at this point. So I was busy doing the baby thing. And I always joke that I'm a recovered lawyer. And once my son got his diagnosis, I really felt like I needed to commit to his program and advocacy and his education. And I didn't think the traditional workforce was going to suit me or my family's needs anymore. So at that point, I said to my gals who I started the company with, I'm like, maybe now is the time to do our label thing. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And we never looked back.
It's amazing. And amazing that you could be doing this with 6 kids, right, along the way. Tell us a little bit about sort of the journey of, growing in motherhood, growing the company at the same time, having this alternative, workforce option, but also, needing to obviously work hard to grow this company at the same time.
For sure. And I do, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I do feel like a lot of people romanticize entrepreneurship and, they think, oh, this is great. You're going to like launch this product or this service and everyone's going to love you and you're going to make lots of money and you're going to find balance and flexibility. And it did suit my lifestyle. It did suit me. But I will tell you that it was a lot of work. And I was making labels from 8 p.m. till 2 a.m. I was pregnant with my 4th, getting up at 6 a.m., doing it all, doing the kids all day long, and then doing the labels at night. And, I just think when you go into it, you need to have your eyes wide open because, you won't have like me time. You won't make money for a long time. Like you need to really understand, and your spouse needs to understand because, if they don't get what life is going to look like for a couple of years, then either the business will fail or the marriage will fail because it's great. Like, this entrepreneurship journey is a beautiful one and I wouldn't do it any other way. And for me, the flexibility worked. And yes, I didn't do a lot of me time. And if me time is important to you, good, take it. But I wouldn't suggest having 6 kids and starting a business. Right?
The saying that you can do it all and have everything all the time is just, some things have to give in different ways, right? At all times.
That's right. And the thing also with owning a business and being an entrepreneur is that like you need to also get very comfortable with being uncomfortable because even in the business, it'd be like, okay, well, we were doing this much in sales. We know our cycle now. We know camp season's busy. We know back to school is crazy. We know how to plan for it. But then something would happen. You get a great PR hit. You all of a sudden have employees, and now you're like, wow, I need to know something about HR. So, as soon as you think you know what you're doing, something goes and changes, and you have to adapt. And like I say, get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, I think that's, it's never really as easy as you think it's going to be as soon as you learn one thing and have it down, which I think is not dissimilar with your kids, right? Something changes and you enter a new phase, and, whether it's growth or whether it's your child at a new age, I mean, there's always something that's coming up that's going to disrupt things again. And you have to
100%. 100%. And that is true of kids. You're like, okay, I got this baby thing down, and then they're a toddler, and then they're in preschool. I've got like 6 teenagers now. Try that out for fun. So you think, you've kind of mastered one area, and then it goes and changes. But I will say the flexibility that Mabel's Labels did provide me was helpful. And it did allow me to do things like, I could go to the pumpkin patch on the school trip and that sort of thing, but flexibility doesn't get your work done for you. So yeah, I could do the afternoon play date, but I was on my laptop till midnight. These things, people think flexibility is so great, but like I say, it doesn't get your work done for you. You still have to get the work done. Right. And I think the other thing, to your point about kids, and just when you think you've got it kind of mastered and then they go and change, also, as you know, every kid is different. Like, I don't have one style of parenting I just get to blindly put across 6 kids. They all process things differently. They all have different needs. I have to parent differently to each of them. If I treated them the same, I would be actually treating them with inequality. They have different needs. So it's not so simple to be like, oh, well, you have one. I mean, all the parents out there know this. You can have 2 kids and be like, how can they both come from me? Like, they're so different. And then you have to adapt as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally different. It's so interesting. I have a big kid who's 9, and then I had a baby recently. So I'm like redoing the whole thing, which is just eye-opening. I don't know how people have more than one kid. I had it made having only one kid for a long time. And now just having to in general is a thing. But yeah, I mean, they're totally different kids, and I'm a different person now too, which I think is the case too. Every year, every time, our lives are different, my commitments are different, who I am is different. So I think that affects how we parent and work and what our priorities are as well over time.
For sure. But I think you make a good point, because you've recently gone to the 2-kid thing, and I have people say to me all the time, I can't even do my 2 kids. I don't know how you do 6. You've done the hard part. 1 to 2 is the hardest, honestly. Like, it doesn't get like twice as hard every time. I mean, in some ways, it's like a little bit easier. When we were in COVID and shut down, like, all my friends with onlys were like, oh my gosh, I'm this child's entertainment. They're not going to see another child for how long? My kids were like playing Dungeons and Dragons and in the pool together and playing Scrabble. I'm like, they'd be like, you want to play, Mom? I'm like, find a brother. That's why I had him.
Well, that's the thing, is it's definitely, there's things about having only one that are very hard, that over time, that piece is a big piece, the socialization and having the buddies built in. And certainly COVID made that clear. So, I mean, I think everybody's situation, right, is different, and it depends on what can work in their lifestyle. But tell me a little bit, since you do have 6 kids and a busy career, what are like tips and tricks for staying organized and, feeling like you have things in control to some extent? Yeah.
Yeah, I certainly am organized. There's a couple of things that I do. I'm very much, and I learned this from actually having a child with autism who's now 21 and away at college and all that. Like, he's fine. But the kind of learner he responded very well to routines and organization and visuals. And, so I have things around my house, and I also don't like being a naggy mom. So I don't want to wake up in the morning and be like, oh my gosh, okay, have you had your cereal? Pack your school lunch. Like, I don't want to be the nag and dragon every morning. So all of my kids just had a ready, set, go board, which was this board that I created with visuals of what their tasks were in the morning and a little magnet to move over when they completed that task. So if they're standing there deer in the headlights, I'd be like, oh, I wouldn't say, go put your shoes on or pack your lunch or, do you have your gym clothes? I would say, go to your ready, set, go board. So I would just direct them to be independent. And that's the other thing. I think with 6 kids, you have to train them to be independent, because I can't be doing up little zippers and tying shoes forever and ever. And, sometimes I know with 1 or 2, it's just easier to do it for them. It's not easier for me. If it's short-term easy, it's going to be long-term hard. That is parenting basically in a nutshell. So if you can invest in them doing the things for themselves, I always say I don't do for a child what they can do for themselves. I don't get my kids their breakfast before school. They can pour themselves a bowl of cereal from the time they go to school. They can pack lunches. They can do those things. So I do use a lot of visuals. I make sure they're organized. I make sure they're independent. And the other thing too, and this is probably my biggest productivity hack as a parent, I've got lots of them, but as a busy parent who was building a business and had all these kids, I don't rescue them. So an example, if they forget their lunch at home and they go to school without a lunch, I don't bring them a lunch. It's not mean, it's a natural consequence. If I forget my lunch, I don't have a lunch, or I have to, bum an apple from a coworker. They can do the same thing. If I spent my life chasing these kids around for things they forgot, I would get nothing done, and there would be no Mabels Labels. So I'm just a big fan of natural consequences. So guess what? My kids always forget their lunch, but only once. And none of them are starving. None of them have had scurvy because of that one day they went without their lunches. They're okay. If they forget their gym clothes, I don't drop off their gym clothes. They'll have to sit and watch. If they forget their homework, maybe they stay in recess and do it again, or maybe they get docked 10% on an assignment because they forgot it at home. That's okay. That's a natural consequence. And it helps make them independent, and it makes me more productive. I always joke about how at the schools beside the secretary, there's that table where parents come and drop off things that the kids have forgotten. And I call that the enable table. And I don't believe there should be those at schools.
No, it's a good point. I think, obviously as an entrepreneur, you have to be self-motivated, right? You have to be independent. You have to be able to figure things out on the go and think on your feet. And I think, that's one of the things that hopefully our kids are learning from being around that,
I totally agree. The role modeling around entrepreneurship, I think it's super cool. Like, my kids have learned a lot of problem solving, and I say today's problem solvers are tomorrow's leaders, and those are the kind of kids I want, right?
Yeah.
So I think them being a part of it, and having been grown up around making the labels and being part of like photo shoots and doing all the things, just being such a part of this has given them a great sense of pride and motivation and just keen interest. And I love that they've been raised in an environment where they've been exposed to entrepreneurship, because they've also seen how messy it can be too.
Yeah, they see all the sides of it. So do you put them to work in the business? What's your work ethic?
Yeah. So, right now, because I have kids that are older, like my youngest child is 11. No, he just turned 12. So it is getting easy for me. But yeah, all my kids have worked Mabels Labels in the summer. Obviously, summer is crazy for us. We have 40 full-time employees generally. In the summer, it usually goes to about 70. We're making labels day in, day out. So my kids have worked the production line as their summer jobs. But also they just get hauled into, like, if we need to get something done, I'm like, kids, we got to put chains in baggies all night long. They're putting chains in baggies. That's how it goes. But they also reap a lot of the benefits as well. So, it's all give and take.
Yeah, for sure. How many labels have you applied over the years? And do you have like a pro tip for like the way you need to apply your labels, or like where you should apply the label?
Okay. So the number of labels I have applied over the years. So I think for anyone who has not tried Mabels Labels yet, I think we have a wonderful pack called the Starter Pack, and it gives you a little taste of everything. So we have, our regular sticky labels. Those are the microwave dishwasher safe labels that are great for your water bottles, your lunch containers, any of your Tupperware, that kind of jazz. We also have clothing labels that are peel and stick, and they go on the tag. So you don't have to iron, you don't have to sew. And then our shoe labels are awesome because, shoes are very stinky, sweaty places, but our labels can withstand it. And I have tested this. Like, I have my oldest kid, his soccer cleats had his name label in, and they went through all 6 children, and I didn't change it. I just wanted to see if that label could survive 6 kids going through soccer seasons. No problemo. So, and there's a couple bag tags in that pack as well. So start with the starter pack, but also we make it easy for parents. If you go to mabelslabels.com, we have a daycare pack. We have an overnight sleepover camp pack, a day camp pack, a preschooler pack, and those actually are super cute because they have shoe labels that help them with their left and right. Like they have one side of a butterfly, the other side of a butterfly, and when they put their shoes together, it's a full butterfly. So it helps them with that right left stuff. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. And actually, right now, something that's super popular is our clothing stamp. So you can we put the child's name in the stamp. It goes right on the clothing, and the parents are loving it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you have I just want to say, you have all kinds of like cute designs, and you can get your kids involved, right? So they like it and they recognize it, and
totally, absolutely personalized with super cute icons. So if your kiddos into trucks, if your kiddos into whatever, we'll have something that will suit them. And to your point, for the pre-readers who might not be able to read their name yet, they'll recognize their icon. I remember my daughter Posey would just anything that had a cow on it was hers. And I think it's particularly important right now because, I mean, originally Mabel's Labels was about not losing stuff and your stuff not ending up in the lost and found. But now we really want to avoid germy mix-ups too. So you want to make sure all your kids' stuff is labeled.
Yeah, definitely. You're not wanting other people drinking out of your kid's water bottle. I know. It's so true. All right. Well, thank you, Julie, for your time today. I appreciate it. And I want to remind everyone, it's Mabel's Labels, where you can go and learn more. And Julie, tell everyone where they can follow you too, because you have so many great tips, separate just from obviously labeling everything for raising kids.
Sure. So obviously I'm on all the usual suspects, Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz. But you can find, some of my reels, some of my media stuff, my writing at mabelslabels.com/Julie Cole. And that will take you directly to my stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. It was great to talk to you today. We appreciate all your tips. And we will all be busy labeling away. I think summer through fall is like high season for the labeling, right?
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me, Tracy.
Thank you. Talk with you soon, Julie.